Welcome to today's episode of Unscripted Pivots, where we dive into the inspiring journeys of those who turn challenges into opportunities. I am Danielle Sproles, your host of Unscripted Pivots. Today, I am thrilled we have Natassia Melendrez with us, a true trailblazer in the construction industry and a beacon of resilience and determination. Starting her career at just 21 years old in a geotechnical engineering firm, Natassia rapidly climbed the ranks due to her integrity, intelligence, and relentless work ethic, eventually becoming project closeout manager. But upon realizing the stark disparities in leadership opportunities between men and women, she decided to strike it out on her own. With just $1,000 and a wealth of courage, she founded Project Support Services, a company dedicated not only to excellence in construction project support, but also to empower women within this tough industry. And let me just take a quote from her. She said, "I remember thinking, if it fails, I'll just start over again. What do I have to lose?" These words from Natassia, aka the Mamapreneur, perfectly encapsulates the fearless spirit with which she approaches both life and business. Today, her company stands as a testament to women that can achieve in industries traditionally dominated by men. Natasha's story isn't just about breaking barriers, it's about setting new standards and helping other women rise along with her. So let's get ready to learn from her incredible journey and discover how she turned every setback into a setup for comeback. Welcome to Unscripted Pivots, Natassia. How are
Thank you.
you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh my gosh. So by way of background, I usually tell the listeners how I met who I'm interviewing and or conversing with. We're not interviewing.
Yeah.
Natasha and I were both on a panel during construction week, and that made sense that she was on it. But why I was solicited, I wasn't so sure. And it was so cool because neither of us, and a big shout out to MG2 Architecture, decided that they wanted us, and so we were both flattered and excited at the opportunity just to be of service. And that's how we met. We were both on a panel, and I will tell you, like, from minute one, I knew that I had, been introduced to a rock star. I wanted to get to know her better, and I definitely wanted to get her and her story on this podcast. So I am thrilled to have you. Tell us a little bit about PSS and what you're doing.
Yeah, so we are in school construction, K through 12 higher education, all government money. So whether school districts get money from bonds that they pass or state money or money from the feds, what we do is we ensure that all the projects were built per plans, per specs, but in a pretty nutshell, we make sure all schools are safe for the children. At the end, everything's done in compliance. And then we do project management in school. So that's what we do and it's what we love.
So it's school specific for PSS.
Yep.
Yeah.
Schools.
So it's tremendous. And I see you attend more things, get more awards. You are like the biggest go-getter. And you have a
Thank
full
you.
life too in the personal realm, right? Because you have
Yeah.
your son. Yeah. And I
Son,
guess
husband. Yep.
all the things, all the blessings. And is that how you started to coin yourself as the mamapreneur?
Yeah, I will be very honest. Business did not get tough until I became a mother. It was a little bit easy once I got married. And then once I had my son, that's when it became really, really difficult managing a family and managing a business. Yeah, so I was like, mamapreneur, like we need to see more mothers become entrepreneurs, but at the same time, I see why it's difficult.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
challenging. I mean,
it
I had,
is.
I was briefly practicing law and then, just went into 8 years of having children and then just had to step back from, a career that I thought I was going to fully embrace and spent a lot of time getting an
Yeah.
education for. But it is what it is. And that's why a lot of times I think we pivot out of the workplace, and it may really, in all honesty, attribute to the fact that we don't get all the way up the ladder. And you are up the ladder. You decided to create it on your own. There is so much to unwrap here. And so, not to make it confusing, let's just start a little bit back with your childhood and the things that you've been through. And the reason I want
Yeah.
to talk about that, because you openly share it, is because anybody can take a glance and say, oh my gosh, I could never be her. I couldn't start my own company. I couldn't lead that way. She's got it all. And you do. But that doesn't mean that the journey from there to here was an easy one. So
Exactly.
let's just look at that so there can be a sense of community and connection along those
Yeah.
lines. So tell us a
So
little bit.
where do you want to start?
Well, I found it fascinating when you were speaking at that panel. You shared with the group that you had emancipated yourself from your parents at age 15. Now that's a little bit of a shocker. That differentiates you in a little bit. So let's just touch upon that.
Yeah, so let's see. It's really weird how all of it happened, but in a way, it was a really big blessing. I know that sounds weird to say. Long story short, there was a lot of family dynamics of things going on. My parents were doing the best they could with what they knew at the time,
Mhm.
and just I was about to turn 16. And I'm not going to play innocent. I was definitely a really rebellious child. I was starting to rebel due to what was going on in the home environment. And I knew I had two choices. I was like, I could either stay in this home till I'm 18 and endure this crap that I don't like,
Yeah.
or I prayed really hard at 15 about it. I was like, I can emancipate myself. And so back then there was a dictionary and there was AOL, and I went on
Yeah,
there and
well,
I went to a library and I printed my emancipation papers and I saved $75 for a taxi. I showed up. They ask you, how are you going to support yourself? I I was always like 3 going on 30, they said. I had it all planned out. Here's how much I'm going to pay for rent. Here's how much I need to live. Here's how I'm going to go to school. Here's how I'm going to do everything. And I remember going before the judge and he's like, all right, boom. Within 4 minutes, then became a legal, in a way, an emancipated minor and an adult. And it was good because any choices that I would make after that point, my parents would not be liable. Like, let's say I got into some trouble,
mhm.
I would be liable, not my parents, which is a good thing. And then I was fully independent, and it was not easy becoming emancipated. I remember packing my stuff when my parents were gone so I could take everything I thought I owned, but
Wow.
that they bought. I
Mm.
had a girlfriend in high school who put it in the back of her truck, and I remember sleeping on different friends' couches for numerous months, and their parents would call my parents and say, "Why are you allowing this?" They're like, "We can't do anything. She's an emancipated minor." And so eventually I ended up getting an apartment with my cousin at like 17 and was able to create stability from that point. Yeah.
So you
It's
really were catapulted into, almost adulthood. I mean, independent living at a very, very young age.
yeah.
And when I think about you and how far you've come, you've always been about resilience, right? And it reminds me
Yeah.
of a quote by Oprah Winfrey where she said, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." Right?
Yep.
Which also reminds me of, like I'll always say on this podcast, turn your pain into a purpose. And
Yes.
by you openly sharing even something as difficult and as vulnerable as that, right? There's a lot of trauma that happens in many different ways and shapes and forms in people's lives. But what I love about it is that you didn't let it stop you. And I mean, those obstacles had to be formidable. And you're probably just really digesting who that little girl was,
Oh, I am
as
now.
an
Yes, as an adult.
as an adult. We have to do the work. We have to do the work. But boy, you have a lot of tenacity and gumption, and you continued on. So when you
Yeah.
were going to school, Natasha, what direction were you going in? Like, how did construction find you?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So, graduated high school barely, again, due to everything that was going on. And I got into mortgages around 2007, 2006, right before the crash happened. So here I am,
That was a
you
brief
know,
career.
yeah, 18, 19 years old, making
uh,
$6,000
uh,
a month, living in
uh,
Newport Beach on the peninsula,
yeah, okay.
fake ID, going to all the bars, and living my best life. And then all of a sudden, had no idea that a crash, well, even what a crash was. And so then, yeah, we all got laid off, and pretty much I ended up having to find a job. And so I found a job on Craigslist for being a dispatcher for an engineering firm. And I started ground zero from there, literally answering phones, learning about construction, and then moving up over time in that company. But school, I tried it numerous times, and I'm going to be honest, it wasn't for me. Not till I started going to learning about certificate programs. I was like, oh, I can do that. I can learn about
Mhm.
things that I'm passionate about. Total ADHDer. I can hyper focus on what I love, and all the other stuff, I don't want to learn about it. So I did courses at Riverside Community College, and then I would drive to UCLA, and I took some courses there through their certification program there. Yeah.
Well, I like your intentional approach, right? Because a lot
Yeah,
of us just go through the motions. We look at the calendar of life and we think, okay, we graduate high school. Now, of course, we're going to go to college, right? And a
that's
lot
how
of
we're all taught.
many, yes, we're all taught. And true to your point, there's a lot of wasted knowledge that happens. You're really, you have no choice but to take certain topics and subjects to complete, your certificate. And it probably is a little bit of a waste of time. I love that you approach this because there's nothing lazy about you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, no, there's not. So you said, I'm going to do this my way, which really ended up being the right way because look how far you have come.
Yeah,
I don't want to discredit colleges. I went to college and heck, I went to law school. There was a lot of money and time spent, and I'm not doing any of those things right now. I mean, they did lay a
yeah.
foundation that I utilize, but I can see your point wholeheartedly. I really can. So you're in that job, and this was really male dominated, and so you became a little bit dismayed at how you were approached, and what else? Was there
Yeah.
any ethnic concerns? Like, talk about like certain biases that you've experienced because you've shared that in other, panel discussions, so that I know that's on your heart.
Yeah, no, looking back when I worked at the engineering firm, I was again, I was a little Miss Know-it-all. I knew I was a tough one to mentor, and looking back, I see why maybe I didn't get that mentorship because I would have been a really tough mentee. However,
Okay,
in that,
honest.
yeah, and very honest, I was like, oh, I was a tough one. I was a very tough employee, but that's funny. Most business owners are. That's why we start our own business because we're not good employees. And so the way I realized that was it was really hard to move in the company. People were getting promoted in front of me. I was asking, why am I not getting promoted? Nobody wanted to have honest conversations. So like, hey, you don't take constructive feedback well. You need to be a little more polished. You don't have this experience. Like I just kept getting passed up. Um, Finally, I was able to see a need in the market and I'm like, okay, I either stay here and let these people determine who I need to become and what I need to do by me guessing, or I just jump and take the risk on my own. And so in there, I saw that with not being a male, and that's okay. That
Mm-hmm.
the company is different now. There's actually a woman CEO at the company. Um, I can see a couple other things, but I'm not going to publicly say it. But yeah, that I
Fair.
saw a lot of it. And now, guess what? Even though I'm not that company, I see it now in our industry of how many women business owners in my industry own a business. There's 6 of us in the K through 12 realm of school construction. There's 6 women and of color. We're 4 of them. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's against the odds. And then, being a woman and trying to apply for certain things, like a line of credit with business, why do we not get it more than men do? Like I still experience it. However, I just fight back harder now.
Yeah.
And I'm really confident in it. Now when people say you're not qualified or this and that, the whole bias and all that. Yep.
Well, I mean, going back to your first comment about maybe not being a great employee, or you really probably didn't take advantage of the mentorship opportunities that were in front of you. I mean, really, you were wearing a suit of armor.
Yeah.
When you consider how you had to survive, right?
Yeah.
That just mindset, probably, you had that protective measure where you weren't really letting people in the way that you wanted to. So here, fast forward, you leave that firm, you recognize that you want to be more in charge of your future and your destiny.
Yeah.
And, kudos to you for that. And you decide to launch PSS. Was
Yes.
that
Yep.
that was the thing?
Project support services. Yep.
So when did project support services come into being, and what did that look like? Like, was it PSS party of one? I mean, when did you start
Yeah.
hiring people? How did you get your clients? So share with the other, listeners, how do you start that? How do you become an entrepreneur? And, what do you do first?
Well, I think the first most important question is what is a business? It's a product or a service that is solving a problem. You
Mm,
have to identify and ask yourself, what problem are you solving? Who is your market? And is this like a trend or is this long term of something you can solve? So I saw that school districts were not closing their projects. I saw how many districts that was. I saw the problem is they didn't know where to start or what to do. And then you have to test the market. So one consultant approached me. We partnered on it. I saw it worked really well what we were helping districts with. And then I thought, okay, if I can help these 2 districts, why can't I help more districts. So then I saw the ecosystem because, again, you have to understand politics. Politics play in everything. As much as people
Sure.
hate them, it plays in it. I saw the big
Absolutely.
key players, approach them. I got enough business. And then finally, when it came to the point where I knew I couldn't do the billing, I knew I couldn't do the projects, I knew I couldn't do the office stuff. I said, okay, it's time for me to hire my first employee. And that was a year after I left the engineering firm I was at. And so, boom, I hired the first person of the work I hated doing, which was accounting. I hated
Okay.
accounting and office. So that was the first hire I had. And then little by little, I started bringing on more people the more I knew I could not do the work myself. Yep.
Well, because we have to delegate, right? If we don't do that, we can't be
And
successful. Yes.
women have a hard time doing that. I read statistics. I went to LA Magazine where Kris Jenner was speaking, and this one university did statistics on women business in California, and there was like 164,000 women-owned businesses, but only 73% did not have employees. I was blown away by that. Why? And I'm like, okay. And they compared it to men. And I'm like, okay, why are women not giving lines of credit? Why are we not having employees? Why are we not doing as much revenue? And, after reading a bunch of business books lately these past 2 months, you have to delegate, you have to trust in order to scale. And I feel sometimes as women, we want to do everything, we want to control everything. And that's not how you grow at all.
No,
And men are easier. Men, in my opinion, it's in them to do that a lot easier. But women, we can
no.
learn that. We can learn it.
I would agree with you. We keep it more close to the vest, and we want, I think we have more of a perfectionistic streak. I really, really do.
Yep.
But also to your point, being able to have access to lines of credit that would fund the employees if there's a challenge in that department, it's almost like a catch-22. Like,
Oh, yeah.
where is the money coming from, right? So there's other things that are coming into play. But I would think too that, and like you being a mom and I'm a mom, it's people that become mothers, you learn something that you are totally not prepared for. I don't care how many people
There's
you
no
can
book
watch
for it.
doing this, right? Honestly, until you walk that walk, you really have zero clue, right,
Yeah.
of what that's like. And it is a big, beautiful blessing. I know how happy you are to be a mom, but when it comes to trying to wear two hats to be, in business, and here you are, leading the charge. I mean, you own your company. So let me ask you this today, how many people, and it doesn't have to even be woman specific, because there's plenty of men that are the full-time stay-at-home parent or
Yeah.
actively participating. I mean, we're in the year 2024. That did not exist when our parents were raised. I mean, it just
No.
didn't. But culturally, things have really shifted for the better. So
Yeah.
within your company, how are you leading today knowing that? And then incorporate too for everybody. I know you've had a recent health scare, as like, well, when I say recent, a year or so ago,
Yeah.
with the pulmonary embolism, possibility, and how that has changed your leadership. So you bring so much to the table in terms
True.
of like pivots, unscripted pivots, didn't
Yeah.
expect this, didn't expect that, and how you use that for good. So let's talk a little bit about how you're leading and how those, experiences shaped who you are as the boss.
Yeah. The way I led before I got my pulmonary embolism in last October, I'll never forget the date, 10/7, 2023, was trying to control everything, being in everything, and telling myself that, and it's just the truth, right? How we get that no one's going to be able to do it as good as me. And that's the truth at times with certain things. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to grow a business and you're trying to manage things, you have to realize 80% is good enough from someone and accept it. And so when I was in the hospital laying in the bed, I really had an aha moment. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why do I own a business? Do I want to keep doing it? Am I happy with my life? And the answer was yes. Like, I love my business. I love my team. I love, being a mom, but the way I was doing it all was in the wrong order, and the way I was leading my company was not right. So after I got better physically, which took me about 4 months, I had this re-spark in me, and it's like, time to get this shit together. I
Yeah.
brought on a business coach named Amy Kay. She's
Mm-hmm.
helping me with leadership communication. We're bringing on a company organization structure coach. We're getting my team also coaching this quarter with learning how to communicate and delegate cascading. And, the one thing I've learned is When your business does up to 300,000, there's a problem with you doing everything. When you scale it to 2 million, then you hired people, which is great, but then everyone's coming to you. And then when you're trying to get 2 to 10 million, and I heard this by Dan Martell, by the way, it's you have to learn how to work through people. And that was my struggle is I need to put the right people in the right departments that can lead. That's the right horse for the right race. So I'm not doing everything and it's getting reported to me. So today where we're at, Taylor is my COO. We're creating
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out who can be the department lead for what. We're hiring for who we need and what, but they have to be competent. Number one, to get the job done.
Obviously,
We
sure.
have to know they can grow with us. And then last but not least, the most important thing I care about is they have to be a culture fit. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
that really shifted my mind of after the blood clot. I was like, the stress, I'm not doing this anymore. So everything I have now from billing to project management, I'm literally asking myself, can I delegate this? What do I need to be involved with? And what SOP and flowcharts can we create so I can pull myself out and we can scale the company?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm leading now with the
Well,
company. It's working. It's doing good. It is.
yeah, and I mean, I see you all over, social media and all the different things that, you're getting kudos from clients and just, you're elevating that company in such a big and beautiful way. And it's always so interesting. It usually takes a big shakeup of sorts, some sort of, unscripted pivot that will make us reassess how we are doing something and to surrender
Yeah.
in that moment, okay, the control and the perfectionism and to create an inclusive culture. So you just mentioned that the cultural fit is the most leading deciding factor when you're growing your company.
Yes.
Describe for everybody, what is the culture like at Project Support Services?
So we have our core values here. It's growth, impact, diversity, dedication, teamwork, solution focused. We have it everywhere on paper. We talk about them every Monday. We ask the team, who was a really star player in one of these core values. I've also fired someone about 3 weeks ago based off our core values. So they know, like, if you want to get promoted at the company, if you want to be employee, which we're doing of the semi-annual every 6 months, you have to show how you have lived by our core values. They are a compass
Mhm.
for where your culture is going and how it functions when you're not here. So ever since we've had them, I haven't been at the office as much, which is a good thing because I'm able to work on the business and be out and about getting business in it for branding purposes and just networking. But it is very good energy in the office. And when it's not, you can feel it for some reason. And so they all work together. They know they have to be solution focused and collaborate to solve problems. That makes me happy because we did have a time in PSS where I wasn't able to go on vacation. I would leave and it was cat fights all the time.
Oh
And
boy,
now it's
yeah.
not. Exactly.
Mhm.
So I pay attention when we bring someone in. Are they bringing, you are the energy you bring into the room you're in. If they're bringing good energy, awesome. If you're bringing energy and causing tension, I'm going to kick you out of my company pretty quick because we don't got time for that.
And how big is the
So,
company? How big are we today?
right now, I want to say we have a team of 8, 9, and then we're about to hire 3 more people. So,
Okay. And the people that
yeah.
you're hiring, in what capacity? What are they doing?
So I need a sales and marketing assistant, right? Because
Hmm.
another great book. I'm always about reading books and watching podcasts and YouTube videos, but I'm really on to Dan Martell right now. So he has a book called Buy Back Your Time, and you literally start looking at where your time's going, and you ask yourself, can I get someone to put in the position to free up 80% of my work? So right now we need a sales and marketing assistant because I
Hmm.
was doing the proposals, doing the numbers, and I'm like, no, I need someone to do 90% of that work for me. So we have someone coming doing that, sales and marketing, and
Okay.
then we're hiring another project coordinator. And we again looked at the team and we really need a strong program project manager that has 10 years of experience managing over 200 projects at one time. And people, they have to be really good with people and leading them. So those are the 3 positions we are hiring for, like, this
Okay.
quarter.
So
Yeah.
anybody out there listening, if you're either interested or if you know somebody, okay, this is this
Please.
is this is the time. Okay, she's interviewing. They're on
Yes.
fire. Tell us a little bit about like some of the projects you're working today, and what are your most favorite things to do in that space?
Okay, so it's funny you bring that
Mhm.
up. I love to fight for my clients because a lot
Mhm.
of our clients receive a bunch of funding to get their projects approved with the state. And this is where sometimes I feel in my past life or maybe another life, I will want to be a lawyer because that's why I loved you because I felt your East Coast lawyer energy. But
That's it.
yesterday I felt like I went to court with the state, so they didn't want to. They were making us do more work than needed for a project. Long story short, they wanted us to rip through walls unnecessarily, look at some connections. And I'm thinking, no, we have enough data and proof here showing that this was done. Critical documents on your end are missing. And I had to make all these points. And this guy from the state, and again, I'm not going to name names, but just I can't even use the word I want to say right now. So he was just rude about it. But
Okay,
what
you can
really
spell it.
yeah, no, what pissed me off is he said our company was disqualified to work on these type of projects in front of my client. And I feel many people or even women would have been like, oh, okay, oh hell no. I said if I was like, you're not doing that to us. We are beyond overqualified. I said we've been certifying over 2,000 projects for 18 years. We represent the district as an owner. We hire the structural, the architect, the project inspector, the contractor. So if anything, they work for us. We're the qualified ones. And everyone on the call was like, and so again, fighting for my clients, right?
Yeah.
Because I got to get their plans approved from the state through these bottlenecks of old stuff that wasn't done. So that's what I love doing is what are they trying to build for the kids? What do we got to close out? Why is it so important for their future construction? How can we get it done quickly? Because schools can only build really in 2 times of the year. Summer projects are for those really big ones, or winter break and spring break for the really little ones.
Mhm.
And right now, if districts don't use their money by September from federal funding they received from COVID, they have to give that money back and they don't have the money to give it back. So I feel like once a month, I am either negotiating with the state or I'm having to politically fight in the right manner for them. And I pick and choose my battles. I really pick and choose
So
my
it
battles with
sounds
them.
like a continued sense of urgency is like
Oh,
always
every day.
happening,
Yep.
right?
Put your
And
cape on.
when I look back on just your life and your upbringing and whatnot, it was like you're built for this.
I
You're like
am.
you're literally built for this, and this is why
Yeah.
you're thriving so much in it.
I'm a
Let's visit.
bulldog.
I was going to say you're a pit bull, but no dissing pit bulls, but I meant a bulldog. Yeah, I mean
Both,
you're
yeah.
yeah. Okay, that reminds me. Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What is the best insult that you've ever gotten? Because this reminds me of an insult that
Oh,
I
oh,
got one
I'll
time.
tell you.
That you actually no, that you actually
Yeah.
like. Go ahead. What
That
would
I
that be?
liked. I'll tell you the one at first that I didn't like, and now I'm like okay with it. I was told we didn't put you on the project because the inspector doesn't want to work with women, flat out. And I could have, I'm sure, pursued something legally, but I didn't. Instead, I was like, I'm gonna show you. And so I ended up just showing the guy how many districts that would work with us just because I was a woman and my team at the time was all women. So I've also been told you're a shark.
Mm-hmm.
And people can take that two ways. And I'm like, no, if I smell blood, I'm going to go after something. I am a shark at times, 100%. You have to be a shark in business. You
You
have to,
absolutely do.
you're
And
going to get eaten up. It's big.
and as a woman, it's almost like you have to be even stronger just to prove yourself, right? But there's that fine line that you don't look like a bitch too, right?
Yeah.
So, when we're assertive, we can, a lot of times we can be classified as being unruly or too outspoken, where it's not the same for men. But it's not to diss men. I mean, there's a lot of really great people out there, male executives that are very supportive of women and that they're like
Oh,
colorblind to it. They
yeah.
don't even look at it. I'm raising 3 sons. They're now like late 20s, early 30s, and they
Mm.
grew up generationally just different than, my brothers did. And they're
Yeah.
very welcoming of all of that. And so I think that, we continue to see an improvement, and you're perpetuating that by being at the forefront of a male dominated industry and really like leading the charge and being inclusive of women, on your team and full on demonstrating how competent and successful you can be in that
Yeah.
space.
Well, it even pisses me off right now is we'll have some of these really large firms need a woman and woman of color on their proposals to look good to win these big programs. And we submit our proposal and resume, and then
Mm-hmm.
they win the job and we never hear from them or get a percentage. It's like it was the front. They put on the front for whoever they're proposing for. And so now what I'm doing is I'm working with those women that own the companies. I know 4 of them that I feel that we are getting used, and I'm going to create this little group and say, all right, we're going to come up with contracts. And every time these large companies want to use our company as a small business diverse, if they win the contract, we are putting a percentage that we are going to get whether they use our people or not, because this isn't fair. And this happened about 5 times to myself and these other companies, that we get put on the proposal and they win, but we never hear from them. So we got used. And I'm not doing that anymore.
So, yeah, well, explain this to me, because I mean, I
Yeah.
was living in the world of commercial title insurance for years, and now I'm doing something different. As you know, I'm doing coaching, and I'm really glad to hear that you utilize coaching services and you see the
Oh,
value of
yeah.
what it is, the type of things that I'm doing. If they are putting you on the proposal, they're just doing it to check a box without the intention of actually hiring you. Is that what you're saying? Because they want to look.
So
So
some
explain
of
that a little
these,
bit.
yes, so some of
Hmm.
these projects that you bid on, you have to meet a certain percentage for small, disadvantaged, women-owned, or LGBTQI,
Hmm.
LGBTQTIA.
I know it's so
Yes, yes. I'm
confusing.
like, okay, so you have to meet these, this percentage of diverse companies, and then you have to put them in your proposal saying that I'm going to use this company. But then
Yeah.
there's no auditing of making sure that you actually do use that company throughout the project.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, like I said, there's been a couple times I've been in interviews sitting on a panel, and then they win and I get nothing from it. And so I started laying my foot down. I'm like, I'm not doing interviews. I'm not giving my resume, because if you win, I want a percentage. And I'm going to meet with these women to create a contract so we can start protecting ourselves and not getting used because we are women or we're women of color.
Well, there's strength in
Yeah.
numbers. I'm just so glad you're doing that, because you know what? It's so important to highlight that you're literally not just doing for your own success. You are paving the way for all the women that follow you. You're actually creating your catalyst for change.
Yep.
So, I'm celebrating that, because I know it's not an easy one. Which reminds me, let's talk a little bit about work-life balance. Right. You
Mm.
mentioned earlier, I don't know,
Yeah.
does it exist? Like, that's a fallacy. But
Yeah.
how do you do it all? I mean, do you have a supportive, family around? Your husband? Like, because it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. So when I had my son, I don't think it's just me, but I think it's my generation of where we're at. Our parents are still working. Most of our parents are. And
Hmm.
so my dad just retired, but when I had my son, both of my bonus mom and my dad were working. And so I had help from my mother-in-law like a couple days a week, but I didn't have any help besides that. So I literally got another office in the building I was in at the time, and I brought in a nanny, and she was at the office with me in my son's little room, and she watched him while I worked. I was so fortunate for that I was able to be with my son from 0 to, a year and a half till we put him in daycare, that he was at the office every day. I missed out in no moments. And then there was a glass in between so I could literally see
See,
what was going on. And I thought, like, man, I wish more women had this, because that's why many leave their career. Their jobs don't support them and, able to watch their kids. And I'm sorry, even if you're at home with your children working, it's impossible. They're children. They need to be
yeah,
loved. They need to be
no, I
nurtured,
know.
attention. They're going to end up getting a flat head if you leave them on the floor all the
No,
time while
no,
you're working. Like,
yeah,
it's not, it can't happen. So, did that. Then he got into daycare, and my husband's beyond super supportive. I have someone at the house that helps, like, again, we're full transparency here, right? Helps with the house, run the laundry. I have an office admin who's also my personal assistant, because my time and energy needs to go to things that are going to 10x the company or 10x my time. And so I'm really learning, again, through that whole book I've been reading, the Dan Martell one, delegate those things to other people so that I can spend time with my family, focus on the
Mhm.
business, and spend times with my employees. Now, I am working on time blocking, because I have an addiction to chaos. I have an addiction to shoving
Ah,
as much shit into my calendar as I
okay.
can, because at the end of the day, if I do 20 things, I feel really, really good, but then I'm burnt out. And that's not working
Yes.
anymore, right? Post blood clot,
No.
not working. So I'm learning to put my health first by, like, going to my trainer, working out, coming to the office, doing things, putting leaders in departments, and then creating space for my family and checking out. But I also have an addiction, like, I like to work. I really do.
Hmm.
So I work on weekends and I work all the time because I just can't work 9 to 5. I work in waves like this throughout the week. So I'm learning to work life integrate. I don't want
Well,
to
no,
call it
and
balance.
it's funny because when we hear the word addiction, we usually think like, oh, this is bad. But when you hear like work addiction, people don't necessarily think that that's something that's awful. They celebrate it like, oh, look at that person really go. They're
Yeah.
dedicated. And the truth is, and because you're making this an important point.
Yeah.
This really can be something that's working against you. And at the end of the day, when something is working against you in your life, whether it's your health, which you already attributed to it
Yeah.
being a problem, and your personal relationships and the time that you spend with your family, that pull is still there, right? That
Oh
need to
yeah.
succeed, and to counterbalance that, Natasha, with a routine, the time blocking, with a structured schedule, where it sounds like you're getting up, you're going to the gym, like you're attending to other things first, and you're working it into your schedule,
Yeah, I'm
which
putting myself
is.
first because I didn't do that before, and I was tested yesterday by God Universe.
Mhm,
I got asked to be a guest speaker at this event called BDAIE, and I had a doctor's appointment an hour and a half later. I knew I wasn't going to make it from Ontario to Newport Beach because that's where my doctor's at,
mhm.
and I had to say no. Do you know how it killed me? Because I have FOMO. I don't fear of missing out. I fear of missing
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yes.
And I was like, oh
Okay.
my God, my whole network's in there, districts are in there. I have to, like, it killed me. But other part was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you have to put your health first. So I sat at that doctor's office of like, it's okay. I'm here putting me first. There'll be another opportunity where I can speak again. And like again, that was a true test because the old me would have canceled that doctor's appointment.
Okay. So we
Yeah.
see growth. There's some growth
Yep,
coming from
there's
you.
growth.
But here's the thing: when we, historically, when we say we're putting ourselves first, it's almost like that's like riddled with guilt or maybe selfishness. And the fact is that self-care is not selfish. It's absolutely critical
No.
because it's the foundation on which everything else is going to be built. And if you don't have a strong foundation, I mean, come on, Miss Construction, you know damn well that this building's going down. Right. And I don't, yeah. And,
Yeah,
and after your health scare, whether that was precipitated by your busy work schedule and the way you were taxing
it
yourselves.
was.
Okay. Well, so there he is. The universe will
Yeah,
tell you what kind of day you're going to have. Right. One of the reasons I even launched Unscripted Pivots was because, of that old saying, life is what happens while we're busy making other plans. And if
yeah.
you don't choose the day to rest and to reassess, that day will be
Oh,
chosen
it will
for
choose
you. It
you.
will choose
Yes, and that's
you.
what it did.
It will
Yeah.
choose you, right? So for us control freaks out there, okay, choose your day, okay?
Yeah.
Practice self-restraint. And I think that that's really just such an important message. And I think that women don't even feel like they have the luxury of doing that. But, and then,
No.
for you in particular, having to, begin your life with such a struggle and a necessity for independence, right? That streak
Yeah.
is hard to leave from. So I
Yeah.
just I can't thank you enough for everything that you've shared and for the things
Thank
that
you.
you're doing. Yeah, I just every time I see you, you attend a lot of things that I don't attend. We're kind of like in parallel universes, so to
Yes,
speak.
but we're putting ourselves out there and we're in the
Yes.
right rooms and we're really trying because you and I have the same passion to like help people connect. We like to build, we like to grow, but we also need to be challenged. And when we're not challenged, we get bored. And when we get bored, we and I both know what happens. It's not a good mental place to be in. So
No,
yeah.
it's not. It's not. So, in closing, let me just ask you this. What do you do to practice like mental health, like wellness? Like, for
Oh, I
instance,
do a
I
lot.
I journal, I
Yes.
meditate. I can't tell you it's a particular time of day or anything like that, but there are things that I've instituted as a routine, and when I depart from them, I know it. It's like, okay.
Yes.
So what
So
type of
it's
things would you recommend?
okay. There are the habitual things, like you said, like I love to ground. I will on and off journal. I like to walking meditation for me mostly because it's very hard to sit there. But I really need accountability in that health. So I do have a therapist I see every Monday or
Mhm.
other Monday. I pay her. If I miss that appointment, I'm like, that's a lot of money. So going to that, and it's just good to like vent and talk about things and struggles. Like I said, I have a coach. Again, when you pay for things, you're less likely to miss it. So seeing the coach for communication and then working out, I could be working out my own, but I see a personal trainer twice a week. Again, accountability for that. And then I actually have an energy healer that I go to once a month. Her name's Patty, my mother Willow. And for someone like me who at times is very hard to calm down my energy,
Mhm.
she puts me in a room and she does this woo-woo magic stuff, and I go into a very relaxed, non-fight or flight calm of state of mind, which is able to get my sympathetic nervous system to calm down. So I do these things that cost money because then I held accountable and I will more likely stick to it versus not. So
No,
it's
exactly,
an
and you know what?
investment. It's an
I
investment.
I was gonna use the I word. I said, "You are investing in yourself," right?
Yep,
We find it so much easier to invest in business, but you're investing in yourself, and let's remember it all starts with you. So you're
it
surrounding
does.
yourself with a team of people that fortify you, both, mentally and physically and spiritually, and then you're ready to go and take on the world because
Yeah,
take on
and
the world you do.
yeah,
You
and women
you
need to
you
invest
do.
themselves and
They
know,
do.
like, go invest with whatever health you need or to keep you grounded and sane. And people feel guilty about spending money at times. I'm like, no, there's a long-term ROI on this. There's
There
a
is, and
long-term
I'm glad that
ROI.
you bring up coaching. So
Yeah.
what would you tell because I'm a coach, right? And you found a
Yes, I
coach
know.
that's right for you. And that is just so terrific. And so what would you tell the listeners about the importance of a coach and how a coach changes how you approach your business and everything around it?
Okay, so you first have to ask yourself, where are you at? Where do you want to be? What are the things that are blocking you from getting there? And then when you're looking for a coach, you can ask the coach that question. Again, here's my roadmap. I want to be here. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to be. Here's the struggles I'm having getting there. What can you do to help me reshift or think differently or practices to get to that? And they'll give you some clues. And if you hit this click and you feel like that coach is getting you and they have experience and they can tell you stories of how they've helped clients do X and Y and Z, they're the right coach. I pay my coach per session. 5 figures, okay? It's a lot per hour. It's a lot of money, but let me tell you, the ROI is amazing, and she has helped me with just 5 sessions, like, grow to that point, where I need to be with all of it and
I,
myself, so
I I
yeah.
just I totally love to hear it because I obviously recognize the value of it, and then to see somebody like yourself who's just doing all that she can to be all that she is,
Thank
and
you.
and including coaching in it. So yes, if you're out there,
Thanks.
coaching is important and it can help catapult you.
I love
And
coaching.
the relationship that you have with that person is really important. There's got to be a certain dynamic. So
Yes. I like tough love coaches. It's my jam. I don't like fluffy
It-
rainbow ones. Give me
no,
a tough love one.
oh my gosh, we
Yeah.
would be so well matched, but you already found your person. Who
Hey,
loves the
and
headphone?
that's the thing. Sometimes different coaches, different seasons. I've had 2 other coaches for the level I was at. You go to a new level, you might need
Mhm.
a new coach. There's nothing wrong with that either.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
absolutely is not.
Yep.
I just want to thank you for coming on
Thank you.
today and sharing all your insights and your journey with everybody. You really are somebody that just openly tries to connect and inspire. I mean, you're a magnet for that.
Thank
But it
you.
hasn't been easy. And then I love it because you're showing other people that the journey is worth it, even though the path can be hard.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
all right. Well, I look forward to seeing
Thank
you again
you.
soon. And thanks for coming on, Natasha. You're a
Thank
rock
you.
star. You're a rock star.
Appreciate it.